Hi, I'm Amy, and this is my first solo YouTube video. I'm going to talk about my horrific experience with online dating. First, I'm going to share my cats with you. This is Yoda. This is Elmo. This is Kushka. And Kermit, the baby, I think is having a snack in the bedroom. Let's go check it out. Kermit! Here he is. Oh, we'll get him. Oh, come on. Alright. So, now that we've got all of the cats together, I can start telling my story. So, first, I was online dating. I went on lots of dates with lots of people who I wasn't really very interested in when I came across a profile of a guy who was a physician. And who doesn't want to date a doctor? Oh my God, right? So, oh my gosh. The first date was amazing. He was 20 minutes late, didn't answer his phone. I thought I was being stood up for the first time in my life, and then he showed up. He was not athletic like he claimed to be on his profile, but since he was a doctor, I was like, I don't care. You know, 200 pounds, 300 pounds, what's the difference? He's a surgeon. So, then, after we had dinner at the Mexican restaurant, we came back to my place. And this is my place right now. I'm about to move back in with my mother, and I'm 27, but that's okay, because it'll be a fresh start. And sorry. Anyways, so, I'm not going to give names, but a month into our relationship, after going into detail about these horrible surgeries where drunken fathers hit their children with baseball bats, and these little kids with collapsed lungs came in and had to be operated on, and he once said, sometimes when I hold their little hearts in my hands, I just feel like I'm God. He really did say that. So, every once in a while, you know, it was kind of hard to hang out with him because he was so busy being a doctor and a surgeon, you know. Busy life of the surgeon, so I was okay with that. But I would get these text messages scrubbing out or scrubbing in, like he was going into surgery or coming out of surgery, which I thought was like my own personal Grey's Anatomy. How cool is that? So, all was okay with never seeing him. So, about a month later, after things were just a little bit distant, I wasn't seeing him hardly at all, and every time he came over, he had to leave. Never spent the night. He always had to leave around 10. And it was always like something really weird, some weird excuse. So, started to kind of get a little bit like, you know, this is odd. And I wasn't allowed to go over to his place because his place, I forget exactly at that point what he was saying about his place. Either it was messy or it was because he had a kid and he wasn't ready for me to meet his kid or something. So I just kind of, you know, shrugged that off. Whatever, you know, we've only been dating for a month. Then we go to coffee, and he tells me that he actually isn't a doctor, a medical doctor, but he is a doctor. He has his PhD in philosophy and in mathematics. And then a couple months later, he had another PhD. So this guy had 3 PhDs. So at this point, I kind of realized that he probably was lying about all of this, since I didn't ever see anything on Google about anything about Dr. So-and-so. No thesis, no nothing. But at this point, I was in love with him. And it sounds really silly, but I was so in love with him, despite everything, and I felt like it was a good idea to continue to love him, to show that I didn't care about his money, I didn't care if he was a doctor or not, all I cared about was him. So, we continue dating, and things get weirder and weirder. You know, one night, this would happen often actually. He would be on his way over, texting me, okay, I'm on my way now, and then he would never show up. Never show up. And then I'll call and his phone was turned off. Next day, he would call and have some strange excuse. Well, one day, he also said that he had just bought a new Porsche, yet he still always drove his Ford Fusion over, which I thought was great because he was humble, right? Yeah, no. He just didn't have a Porsche. So to get rid of the Porsche, one night, when he was on his way over, he got into a horrible car accident and totaled his Porsche. He fell asleep at the wheel. Oh my God. And so I was calling him, and it was going straight to voicemail. Phone was off, so I started calling all the hospitals around. None of them had any record of him. The next day, he said, hey, I got in a car accident. You know, it was on 6 and I-25, so I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. He's like, I'm waiting at the pharmacy, and I'll come over afterwards. And I was like, okay. So I started making some calls. Called the hospitals again. No record. Then I called the police. And there hadn't been an accident there in at least a couple days, and definitely not when he said there was one. So, still blinded by love, I decided not to call him out on it. He was clearly a pathological liar and had some serious issues with lying. And I decided that I was okay with that, I could work with that, you know, I really loved him. And the months go on, same thing's happening, I'm always waiting on this couch right here, waiting for blank. I'm going to write a book about it one day, waiting for his name. I'm not going to give his name now, but all the things I did just waiting for him. It was absolutely miserable. So, I decided I'd give him the rest of the summer, and if he didn't get everything together by the end of the summer, I would break it off with him. What's a summer, you know? I was 26 years old. I didn't really want to be wasting my time, but I did love him, so whatever. Anyways, by the way, my friends and family all hated him because, of course, every time he ditched me and didn't call or whatever, I would be, you know, crying and very upset. And on the first date, he told me that we were going to Rome. We were going to go to Rome for a whole month. He had a place there. So I went and renewed my passport and got that all ready. And, of course, there was some excuse about how his son didn't have his name, and so they couldn't get it together in time, and he was so mad at his ex-wife, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Anyways, I wish I hadn't gotten so excited about that trip because I was stoked. Been out of the country before, but spending a month in Rome, that would have been awesome. So, what happens next? I get pregnant. Yes, I was pregnant. And it wasn't like we hadn't talked about this, but I was excited and at the same time all of a sudden very freaked out because he was so flaky. So I called him and I said, this is really important, you need to call me right away. And he calls me back and I tell him I'm pregnant and he's like, okay, all right. you know, he didn't make a big deal about it. 20 minutes later, I get a text. I'm actually married and living with my wife. And I was like, oh my God. Oh, and he added, and I make $2,600 a month. So that was a really big change from the $90 million that he claimed to have. Not like that really mattered. I figured, I'll do this on my own. It's going to be okay. I'll work 3 jobs. I'll do whatever, right? So, unfortunately, I did have a miscarriage in November, which was absolutely devastating. And a lot of people say, hey, it was for the best because he wouldn't have been there. But to be honest, I don't care. I wanted that baby more than anything. So it's still devastating, and it's been very hard. So long and short, there's a lot more stories I can go into about all the crazy things that he did. I'm trying to think. There's just so many. I should pull out my diary. But I think I'll continue this video later about this relationship and how you should be very careful with online dating. I highly, highly recommend doing a background check with anyone that you are seriously dating. I don't care if it's the first date, third date, whatever, get their last name, do a background check. Doesn't matter how much it costs, because people will lie. And if they're married like this, also, obviously I knew this was a red flag, but if you haven't seen their place within like a week or 2 of dating them, they're probably married or in another relationship. I was in denial. So, that's my story about online dating with this guy that I wasted a year of my life with. He's already on to the next girl. Poor thing, probably thinks he's a lawyer. I was actually contacted by another woman who dated him for a little while, and she told me that he claimed to be a lawyer and to have gone to the big H, being Harvard, and she did a background check, and everything, of course, didn't match up, and blah, blah, blah. So, shame on me for not doing a background check. Ladies, do your homework on whoever you're dating, especially, not even if you meet them just online, because you can meet someone in a bar and you have no idea who these people are. People can make up just the most ridiculous things. So, I still don't have any real tips on dating, because I am single, but I'm hoping to change that, and I was going to make an online dating profile tonight, and then I decided to make this video first. But I want you to see my favorite shirt, Ditch Him, by Juicy Couture. So just don't get stuck in long relationships with someone that's a pathological liar or a sociopath or a narcissistic asshole. Okay? Alright. Bye. Mwah.